Hey guys, today we're going to be starting a video series on how to draw in ChemSketch. ChemSketch is a free software that you can download. If you don't have it yet, you can look in the link below and go ahead and download a copy of that and get it installed, and we'll go ahead and get started. Alright, today we're going to cover just the very basics of drawing a structure in ChemSketch. There's a lot of things that you can do in ChemSketch. We're just going to get you to the point where you can draw a simple structure and be able to maybe replicate something that you see on the internet. You want to do your own structure so you don't take and copy somebody else's drawing, or maybe you're required to do this for class. But either way, we're going to just get you to the point where you can draw something basic. So when you open up ChemSketch, you'll notice it'll give you a couple of tips of the day that you can either read or kind of exit out of. And once you get past that, you'll start with this screen here, and you'll see that you've just got a page that you're working off of. It's got some print margins, and you can do a lot of page settings just like you do in Word or any other type of document. We can go to page setup, and we can change the size of our page. There's a couple of different options, and we can go from portrait to landscape. I like landscape a lot because I feel like I got a lot more page to work with. I'm going to actually zoom in just a little bit so you guys can see a little better. So once you get the page set up, make sure that you're saving your files. Of course, we're going to hit save, and it's going to do a save as because we've not saved it. And we're going to call this anything. And we're going to save our file. Then I'm going to go ahead and get started, show you a couple of different things here. One thing you'll notice, there are two drawing modes in ChemSketch. There's structure and then there's draw. In draw mode, you're going to have a lot of your shapes and brackets and lots of little drawing type features that you can add to your document here. In structure mode, you're going to have your elements. You're going to have a lot of your more chemistry type stuff. This is obviously what you're going to be using to do your structures, and that's where we're going to be at today. We're going to cover some of the drawing stuff in a different video later. So to start out with, you'll notice over here on the left you have your elements listed here, and these will be the most commonly used elements. If you need an element and it's not in this list, you can get any element you need from clicking up here on this periodic table. You'll see a little bigger periodic table pops up, and you can just choose. You click on these, you can see some information about them, but mainly the use of this is you can just click on whatever elements you need, and you can use this in your structure. Just hit OK, and now I've got, and you'll notice once you do that, it'll pop up down here. Okay, if you look on the left here, as I pick a non-metal, such as carbon, and I click, it's just going to put a carbon down there, but you'll notice it also puts 4 hydrogens with that carbon. I'm sure you guys learned in earlier chemistry classes that carbon typically forms 4 bonds. So ChemSketch goes ahead and it fulfills all 4 of those bonds by filling it in with hydrogen. So if I put a hydrogen on here, you'll see it does 2 hydrogens because hydrogen is a diatomic element, so it'll go ahead and put another hydrogen on there. Nitrogen normally forms 3 bonds, so when you click here, it's going to put 3 hydrogens on that nitrogen. Now, if I add something to my structure, so I've got nitrogen selected, if I want to add something to my structure, you'll notice that the carbon is now, it has 3 hydrogens and the nitrogen has 2. Of course, that's because the other bond is fulfilled by the bond between the carbon and the nitrogen. So as you add things to these, you'll see a reduction in the number of hydrogens. It's just going to fill in what it needs to make its normal amount of bonds. Now, if you're dealing with metals, ChemSketch handles it a little bit differently. So, typically metals don't bond directly to hydrogen. That's not very common. So if I put sodium on here, it comes up as a cation. Magnesium is going to come up 2+. It's going to come up with this normal ionic charge. So that's the way ChemSketch works with a metal versus a non-metal. Now, a lot of the stuff you're going to be drawing is going to be drawn structures that are organic structures, so a lot of it's going to be non-metals. but they're just kind of handy to know how ChemSketch treats these. Now, I think the easiest way to get into this is just by drawing a structure. Most likely, when you start to use ChemSketch, it's because you have a structure that you are aware of that you need to draw on your own. Most of the time, you're not going to be generating this just out of your head. So I'm going to draw out a structure to show you how to basically go through the process. All right, before I get started here, I want to clear off this page. There's a couple of different ways we can do that. I'm going to show you the different ways we can delete things. One way is to pick our select, and this select defaults to what's called a rectangular select. You can see the rectangle here. So I can do this, and I can draw a rectangle and select one or multiple things, and then I can either delete up here, edit, delete, or I can hit delete on my keyboard. You know, I can also pick multiple things. If you need an odd shape, you can go up here to lasso on, and I can do odd shapes and select multiple things. But most of the time I use the rectangle select. It just seems easier for me. Another thing you can do is you can go up here. There's a delete up here. You click it, and you'll notice that your cursor changes to a delete, and you can just go through and you can click and delete things one at a time. It's also useful if I want to delete something off of a structure that I put on there. You can just delete it off of a structure very easily. There, I deleted the whole thing. So there's a couple of different ways you can delete. All right. Whoops. Another thing that you can do, if you just click something by accident and just pop something in that you don't need, you can go up here to edit. You can hit undo. You can also hit Control Z on your keyboard, and it'll just undo the last thing that you did. I'm going to copy and paste an image in, just something I downloaded off of Google, just to be able to get us quickly going drawing a structure. Okay, so I've copied an image, just a little bitmap or PNG that I've copied off the internet, and it's not very cleaned up looking. And of course, you want to use your own work. You don't want to use the work of others. So I'm going to redraw that, and so I can put it into my document, and it'll look much better and more professional. So I've copied this and pasted it in here, and just as a reference. So if we want to draw this, when I copied and pasted this in here, it automatically stuck me in draw mode. That's no problem. All you got to do is just click it back to structure mode, and you can get back in structure mode. Let's go ahead and get started with this. So now I could go and I could pick a carbon, and I could just go start drawing everything, and I could get it done that way very easily. However, if you look over to the right, there are some pre-drawn groups for you. And if you click up here, there's a lot more pre-drawn groups that you can use, a lot to pick from. Now, I don't usually go through and just scour this whole thing looking for the exact thing that I need. I just kind of quickly grab something that I think is similar and then work from there. The structure we got up here right now is called theobromine. It's one of the ingredients in chocolate. So I'm just going to look at this, and I'm going to say, okay, it starts with a 6-member ring. I don't see anything with nitrogen, so I'm just going to grab a 6-member ring, put it over here. All right, I've got a 5-member ring. So when we do these over here, they'll stay on, and you can just click on your left mouse button and put down as many of these as you want. You can pop them side by side. You can pop them onto each other with a bond in between. So you can play around with that, and you can see how you can configure these. So now I need a 5-member ring. So I'm going to click on my 5-member ring. And I'm going to come here, and I don't want it like that. I want it to share those carbons so it looks like my structure over to the right. Okay. Now that I've got that, the next thing I want to do is I want to put some of these nitrogens in, and that's pretty easy to do. I can just click on nitrogen, and I can go in and I can just replace. Every time I click, it'll replace it with a nitrogen. All right, next thing I want is an oxygen, and this time I don't want to replace it. I want to left click that mouse button and drag it up and put down my oxygen. I'll put down another oxygen there. Okay, now you notice we need a double bond. We need actually several double bonds. So we can go ahead and make those double bonds, and you don't really have to worry about which which elements you have selected. Just, any of these elements are fine. It will not replace them if you're doing double bonds. All you have to do is just do the left mouse click on the oxygen or either one. It doesn't matter which direction you go. Come down, and then when you see this one highlighted, it forms a double bond. All right, I'm going to do that again. I'm going to start with a carbon, and this time on the, look, I missed. I didn't get it clicked on, and so it adds the OH beside of it. So all you got to do is hit Control Z, try it again, make sure you've got that other oxygen, and you'll see it pops in the double bond. If I want to go ahead and do these double bonds, you don't have to switch elements. Just use whatever you have. Go from carbon to carbon, and from nitrogen to carbon, and there you see we already have everything looking pretty good here. So one thing you might notice, if you look here, the double bond, the second bond is on the left, and it is on the left over here, but sometimes you'll see drawings with the double bonds on the right, and you might be thinking, well, does it matter? Well, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which side this double bond is on. ChemSketch typically just puts it on this side, but if you see a drawing with it on the other side, don't worry about it. It doesn't really matter. So the last thing that I'm missing is some carbons here and here. All right, now I've got my structure. I'm going to go ahead and select my structure, and I'm going to clean it up. I'm going to go up here to the top and hit clean. In the interest of making this video short, we're going to stop there for today. That's going to get you to the point where you can do a very basic structure. Of course, there's a lot more you can do, and if there's more you want to learn, then just tune in next time and we'll continue from here. All right, guys, that's it for today. If you found this video useful, don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and we'll pick this up and we'll get even deeper into drawing structures and into what the drawing mode can do for you, and we'll hope to see you soon.